Pizza Hut is one of the most famous brands across the world, but after lagging sales, especially in America, the popular chain will be closing 250 locations in just the coming weeks. Pizza Hut is a concept of Louisville-based Yum Brands, whose leadership made that announcement during yesterday's earnings call.
And we're bringing in our Conroy Deluche, who's talked to a couple of commercial retail analysts. And Conroy, 250 sounds like a lot. With the experts you talked to, though, they said it's kind of typical when a brand is struggling.
Yeah, the 250 number, that really got headlines across the country, maybe even across the world. And that's in comparison with Yum Brands, which is based here in Louisville. Their stocks have gone up, one of them calling it incredible over the past 10 years, which is a good sign for Louisville, its home base. And speaking of Louisville, right now, there are at least 20 Pizza Huts left right now in Jefferson County, and there are nearly 20,000 across the world. Just more than 6,000 of those are in the United States, so 250 represents about 4% of American locations. I talked with John Bon Jovi, who's a professor of management that's Joe Bon Jovi, I should clarify, a professor of management at the University of Kentucky's Business School. He has a corporate background in retail, and he says the news to close 250 locations was not surprising, that the chain is a drag on earnings.
This is going to be about finding underperforming restaurants that aren't making money, restaurants that are costing more money to run than they are profit, and rationalizing the overall footprint.
Yeah, that was Joe Bon Jovi from the University of Kentucky. While Papa John's may be the more iconic brand based in Louisville, Pizza Hut is a brand under Louisville's based Yum. When I talked with Stephen Larkin, who's a commercial retail specialist out of Florida, he said Yum is in a great position with what he calls an incredible 10-year trend in the stock market, and now they're getting ready to relocate their headquarters to downtown Louisville.
For an international company to maintain their headquarters in Louisville is the biggest sign and step that they could take to demonstrate their commitment to.
So this video here is just doing the reaction here. So around 250 U.S. locations of Pizza Hut are going to be closing because of lagging sales, and Pizza Hut is one of the brands under Yum's brands. I'm thinking KFC. It's a couple other brands that are underneath this company, but they're doing it strategically. It's like 4% of their locations, really. They're doing it strategically because in these locations, man, they're not really making sales, and I'm certain Pizza Huts I've seen, it's just no cars in the parking lot. When you go into them to pick up your pizza, all the chairs and stuff are on top of the table, so they don't even expect people to come in. And I do remember a time where Pizza Hut had a buffet and stuff like that. That was like it was like the draw, but they're just trying to really figure out a way to go about getting their business back on point. And sometimes you have to take away from certain brands in order to to continue to do well. But as they were just saying, they're doing well in the as far as on the stock market with their company. They're doing really well. I'm looking now, they're at $161.19, and they're up 39% today. So even with this news breaking, they're currently on a rise right now, and like they own KFC, they own Pizza Hut, they own Taco Bell, and it's not owned by single person, but it's like a lot of investors who invested in the company. So they have a lot of brands underneath their umbrella. And they're saying, as far as the history of this company, it's a spinoff from Pepsi Cola in 1997. It was a part of Pepsi Cola's restaurant division, and it was called Tricon Global Restaurants at the time, and it spun off, and it became Yum Brands. So just a little history of what Yum how Yum became a thing, and their headquarters is in Louisville, Kentucky, as they were saying, and this is like a normal aspect of business. I was reading an article today. They were saying that a lot of Brits pizzas, which is like a more like crafty type of pizza restaurant, they were closing all their locations in the Piedmont Triad area. So that's like Greensboro, Winston-Salem. They're closing all their locations, and I think that's because either their menu wasn't the best, or the menus, the prices wasn't good in this type of economy, or they just wasn't getting like a lot of people to come in and try out what they had to offer. And they had some real good retail locations as well, so I was very shocked to see that news article saying they're going to be closing all their locations. But you know when you're in this type of business, sometimes you have to just cut losses and try to get yourself into a different position to where you can keep growing the business, because you have to answer to your shareholders, people who buy shares into your company. Those are like those are the people who you have to answer to. And you can't just keep coming back with losses, because then people are going to try to sell their shares and get out of the company, and that can end up with you being bankrupt. I'm gonna go ahead and bring up where they're saying Wendy's is also set to close hundreds of stores here. So this is a trend that's just happening with a lot of these restaurants.
Wendy says that it's closing hundreds of restaurants here in the U.S. as the burger giant flips its strategy. Let's talk about this. So the company says sales fell more than 10% last quarter, and now it expects to shut down between 5 and 6% of its U.S. locations by summer. Now, that is on top of the more than 240 stores that closed in 2024. So the company is calling this strategy Project Fresh, and a statement to ABC News saying, by closing consistently underperforming restaurants, we're enabling our franchise partners to increase focus on locations with the greatest potential for profitable growth. But when we look at the big
Okay, so just wanted to kind of stop it right here and look at this statement by Wendy. So they're saying by closing underperforming restaurants. So these are restaurants that's going to be in areas to where they're not making anywhere near how much they're spending in overhead. They're going to close those restaurants down. But they're also going to give, the franchisees, the people who actually own the stores, who, purchase the rights to have those Wendy's from the company. They're going to give them a chance to either partner with other locations, or give them help with getting restaurants and locations to where they can see potential growth. So it's going to be places to where they're building up these new apartment complexes within your city, or new housing developments within your city, new shopping centers and shopping areas within your city. So they're going to take away Wendy's from underperforming areas, and they're going to put them in areas to where they know there's going to be a lot of people and a lot of foot traffic at. And they definitely may redesign how the Wendy's restaurants look, and what's being offered on their menus and things like that. So this is a strategy that you have to use when you're working in like a corporate business or a corporate setting. I remember Walmart's didn't used to look like they used to look, and Walmart had a whole different type of logo than they do now. They had to figure out, okay, instead of us setting up to look like a store with these white floors that cost a lot to keep clean, we're just gonna have gray floors that are like a warehouse. We're just going to make this a big warehouse. We're going to simplify and open up the whole floor format of the store. And we're going to change our logo to be like a sun. And if you look at Walmarts from the 90s and you compare them to the Walmarts of today, they look totally different. Even the blue is different. There was a dark navy blue when Walmart's first came out, and now it's a light blue. All this stuff is done strategically because it just changes the outlook on how people look at that store. Walmart's used to be like red, white, and blue. Like and it used to be a big Walmart written in, and they couldn't survive with looking like that. They had to kind of modernize things, and um, they just had to make everything just a lot more simple for them as well. Cause the way they had it sectioned off, where you come in and like they still have carpet of on the parts to where they're selling clothes, but everywhere else it literally looks like a warehouse. And for them doing that, they have a lot more space to put a lot more stuff because they sell a lot more things now in Walmart than they used to. But that's just a change that they had to make, and it makes it easier for them to surveil the whole store and to make sure people aren't stealing and stuff like that. Because it's just an open layout now. It's no longer like corners and stuff that you can go to and hide and stuff like that and do any and everything. So just giving an example of how people have to how these companies have to switch up and go a different route. Even Food Line used to look a certain type of way where they used to have like a logo with like yellow and stuff like that. Now the Food Line logos is different, and then the way that they set up their stores is different. Food Line is one of the companies that definitely change up their marketing and their logos and stuff like that periodically, just to try to stay up to par with some of you know, um, the other grocery store chains and stuff that's out there.
Bigger picture here, especially in these fast food wars, price is now the main ingredient, with cost-conscious customers pulling back. Wendy says it's now shifting back to everyday value. The chain just launched the new Biggie Deals menu. I don't know if you've seen it, with $4, $6, and $8 options, and they're hoping to win back budget-conscious diners. Bottom line here, this isn't just about Wendy's. We're seeing this all across the industry. These chains are just realizing that, especially in this economy, consistent value, not just promotions, may be what keeps customers at the drive-thru, Gio.
Yeah, people are definitely looking to, not spend a whole bunch of money on fast food, and she was very happy about that new Biggie meal menu. She was very happy about that, but definitely going to be a lot of price conscious, customers, because man, people aren't making the money that they used to be making, and a lot of these jobs, man, they're definitely undercutting as far as wages is concerned. So they can't just people can't just afford to go out and spend $30 at Wendy's, especially if you have a full family. You can easily spend upwards of over $30. Family of four, you can easily spend like $30. You get 4 meals, and um, if you've got a family of four, you get 4 meals. You get you a drink or something. After tax, easily $40. Very, very easy, depending on the meals that you get from these places. But yeah, this is like the new normal that we're seeing. A lot of these restaurants are closing some of their stores and just trying to redo their strategies as far as how they're going to approach business and having stores in certain locations. So we'll see what other stores are coming up next. I'm gonna go ahead and close this one out. Let me know what you think about the video, or these stores, these restaurants and these chains, closing some of these stores, and some of the locations that they're thinking about closing stores. I mean, 250, when they have like thousands of stores, it's not really much. Like they were saying, it's just like 4% of stores. And for Wendy's, man, I think Wendy's just definitely trying to consolidate, because there's a lot of Wendy's out here. Like I know in definitely in the city, it's like a Wendy's, like multiple Wendy's on like certain sides of the city. So gotta close some of them stores that are not doing well. And we also know one other aspect to this is that of course these are jobs that like a lot of young people work at, and I'm not even gonna lie, man, a lot of young people, their attention or their want to do these jobs is not there. So man, your food might be messed up, or you can't really trust who's back there to make your food and stuff like that. So a lot of these things are some of the reasons why these stores are closing as well. They just don't want to say all that. But yeah, I'll close this one out. This is Justin Paul. Peace.